It's Monday, July 8th, 2024, and this is episode 313 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Well, Dr. Mike, I am back from 360 Vegas Vacation. Seems like a million years ago. The last time we recorded, it was a little bit before I left, and then our last episode actually dropped when I was there. So I got to refresh my memory here. It seems like so long ago. But yeah, great trip. Great to see everybody. You know, Mark and company do a great job of putting on this event and all the activities that go along with it. So again,
how was the weather while you were there?
It was hot.
Vegas hot.
It was Vegas hot. It was in the hundreds, 104, 105. It's funny because I came home and here in San Diego it was like in the 80s, but way more humid. And when I say way more humid, I'm not talking like New Orleans humid. You know, humid in San Diego is maybe 60, 70%. That's the highest it gets, right?
Right.
But when I come from...
But Vegas is no humidity.
It's 4%, right? So
yeah.
It's a bit different.
It's nothing. I mean, that's dry.
Yeah. So I drove in the night before. I don't mind that drive, and I don't mind the drive on my own either. I was able to stop, at Tommy's Burgers and get my chili burger, so it's worth the trip.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if this is just age or if I've always been like this and never really noticed it, but I like to drive.
Oh, I love driving. Oh, it's a relaxing thing for me. Yeah, it's very...
Same here. I mean, we drive around the countryside and stuff, and just get in the car and drive. It's kind of... yeah, like you said, relaxing. I don't know. I just like to look at different things and stuff too. You know, you're on a plane. All you can look at is the guy across the aisle who's picking his nose and coughing or whatever.
And you're not in charge of anything. It's not like you're the pilot.
No, you just sit there. It gets kind of boring. But when you're driving, it's like you get to watch stuff and see weird stuff.
And, I listen to podcasts and,
right,
put
that's
on
a good
the
time
music
to,
I like. So,
yeah, it's a good time to listen.
So, I did that and checked in and went straight to bed, which is, of course, my thing. The next morning was the first day of 360 Vegas Vacation, but stuff didn't start until the evening. So I thought, well, I'm going to go down, check out Fontainebleau. Actually, on the way there, I stopped at White Castle because, we don't have White Castles here. So I had to get some sliders. And everybody oh, Mark, you actually stopped to get that? Yeah, I like those sliders. I miss them. I
don't like them.
That's fine. I'm not going to say you're wrong. But I had a couple. They slid right down.
I've had them every once in a while because, for the novelty of it. But I wouldn't make that a regular stop.
But I went down to Fontainebleau, wanted to check that out. I thought it was great. I loved it. I love the way it looks. Very glamorous. The closest thing I'd say it is to is Resorts World. It's kind of open and bright. Right. A lot of whites, a lot of blues, that kind of thing.
I like bright.
Yeah, I do too. I prefer that to, and I understand people like kind of intimate, dark casinos
with red and black.
Yeah, like Wynn, things like that. I kind of like them open and kind of like Hard Rock in Atlantic City. But anyway,
I don't know why it just feels. I don't know.
I really
feels
like
cleaner.
Okay, yeah, right. Because you can see everything. When it's dark, it's like, what am I stepping in?
Right. Yeah. Now, what was that I just stepped on?
Yeah. I guess I'll find out when I get back to my room.
Yeah, it's like being in my backyard.
I am Caesar's Diamond. They did tier match me to, I think, their second level at Fontainebleau. So if I go back, I've got like $100 dinner and some other things. So they will tier match just Caesar's Diamond. I wasn't Diamond Plus or anything, just Diamond. So is that. So I went to play some craps. Mike, I texted you while I was there. At one point, there were 3 craps tables open, and I was the only player.
Yeah, that is odd.
Yeah.
Now, that was on...
that was a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
$25 minimum tables. I've heard stories about them struggling to get people there, probably because of the location more than anything else.
Right.
But it's too bad. The crew was great. I had a really good time. It was not a very lucky session for... Oh, this is funny. So the $100 chips, they're black chips, but they've got a lot of white on them. For some of the side, you see a lot of white. So I made a $25 pass line bet, and I put down what I thought was a $1 bet for the dealers. And I established a point, and the dealer's kind of looking at me like, and I said, oh, no, this is for you. I'm pointing at, oh, no, see, I made a bet for you. And then she kind of looks at it and I realize it's 100. And so we're kind of laughing about it. And the box was right there, and he let me change it because he knew what I was intending to do, even though a point had already been established.
Sir, that's a contract bet. Once that is down, a point is established.
And you've announced that it's for the dealers. So, when it wins, they'll be collecting that initial bet. And no. So he laughed about it and had no trouble allowing me to change it. And I almost made this mistake several other times. I finally had to say, here, I've got to really move these $100 chips out of the way so I don't get confused. So I think it's something that I'm not the only one it happens to.
Well, that's why, Mark, just eliminate the hundreds. Just use quarters and 500s.
Okay. I'll ask you next time.
Eliminate that problem. Just don't play with hundreds.
That's right. Give me a hard eight. I want to make it $100 hard eight, which is a little out of my comfort zone, but all I have is 500. So I'm going to have to go way out of my comfort zone. Thanks. Here it is.
I'm laughing. I'm still laughing about that. I'm surprised they said something. Thank you for the tip.
Well, the dealer was looking at like, what is he trying to do, right? Because he's got two separate bets there, a quarter and 100, right? So
you should just say, it's a system.
That's right. It's like my do don't, but I put both bets on the pass line.
Yeah, and then I give one to you.
I don't know which one it'll be.
Yeah, right. Depends on what comes up.
So anyway,
great.
Yeah. So that was basically, and then I like I said, I lost there. I ran over to Harrah's. I said, "Ooh, empty table." So I bought in, and it's like, "Oh, it's crapless," which no big deal. I thought, okay, I'm going to play crapless. Unfortunately, at least at Harrah's, you can't buy the 5 and 9. Well, you can, but you have to pay the.
You have to pay the vig up front.
Yeah, so then it makes it not worth it. You might as well just place it. Yeah, even though like in Blackhawk, remember, we were going all the way across. There was like 30 on all the numbers because we could buy the 5 and 9. This time I just decided to go 25 on the extreme outside. So 2, 3, 4, 10, 11, 12. I played that for a little while. I don't know. Crapless this trip, it did okay for me. It certainly wasn't as good as when we were in Blackhawk, but I still kind of have fun doing it.
What was the limits on that table?
When I was there, it was 25. Later and then again, this was like on a Sunday, but then on Monday it was 15. The lowest limits that I saw when I was there, and again, I was only on the strip, was $10 at Flamingo. That must have been on a Monday. So you can find some $10 craps on the strip.
Yeah, if you're there during the week.
If you're there during the week, during the day, right. So
yeah,
it is
week
possible.
During the day. I'm sure at Monday night, even at like 5 or 6, all of a sudden it's $15 or $25 table.
So the first meetup was that night downtown Grand. Went down there, said hi to everybody, met some people who I had never met before, even though I thought I had. Like, there were a few that, oh yeah, we've met before. No, this is our first time, Mark. Oh, sorry. I'm so bad with faces. Oh, it's so terrible.
Oh, well, sorry. And then just walk away.
That's right. Oh, we've never met before? Excuse me.
Yeah, excuse me. I'll go talk to someone I know.
Listener Sasha, I met for the first time. She bought me a drink there at the bar there downtown Grant. So thanks, Sasha. Nice to meet you. I'm going to, I shouldn't even name names here because I know I'm going to leave people out, but, I'll probably drop some names.
You saw Ryan and
here.
Rebecca.
Oh, well, not Rebecca. So Ryan was there.
Oh,
we were actually, I guess we were both staying at Harrah's because we were both heading out to go downtown. He says, oh, Mark. It's like, oh, hey, Ryan. I asked if Rebecca was there. He said, no, she's back at home. They have a baby. So, there you go. Yeah, we hadn't seen them in a long time. Yeah.
Long time. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. They're a very nice couple.
Yeah. So great to see them at these meetups.
Yeah.
So we had drinks down at Downtown Grand. And of course, then it was time to play. And they only have one craps table there now at Downtown Grand, which is too bad.
Is that craps table that's there the one that was closest to like the rewards thing? Or is it the other one that was at a 90-degree angle to that?
They've completely changed their pit. So it's at a location different from where they used to be before.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of an end cap.
Now I have a reason to go there.
Yeah. There was room on it, but there was a completely open Ultimate Texas Hold'em table. I said, I'm not really familiar with basic strategy, but kind of help me out. And eventually John B. came to the table and he had some knowledge. So he was kind of able to help us out. And, you get big hands every once in a while and it's fun. So we had fun playing. That actually was a lot of fun. I was telling Tony Snyder later, I said, wasn't that the best? I mean, it was just kind of one of those impromptu things where a bunch of us are playing this game that most of us aren't really that familiar with and just had a blast. So,
well, and they're probably talking a lot.
oh yeah,
that's a game where you can talk quite a bit.
It's not like craps where it's kind of fast and you don't have a lot of time to socialize. And this, they've got to go through each hand and evaluate it. Plus, they were training a new dealer, so it was going extra slow, which was fine for us. We're just drinking and laughing and everything, so it was a lot
more
of fun.
time to enjoy each other. And also, one good thing about that game is, if there are 4 or 5 of you, just get on the table and dominate.
That's it. Yeah, we all
about some person who's upset because somebody did something weird.
Yeah, it's especially important in blackjack. Where
there'll
you just
be 4 of
you,
but another person will sit down and they'll be complaining about what you did.
But this worked out great. And then I kind of called it an early night because I was going to meet listeners Tim and Ed at breakfast at Ellis Island, which I did. The 3 of us ordered the steak and egg breakfast. That's not on the menu, but it's $14.99. And that was pretty good. I'll tell you what, Mike. I like my eggs over easy. Easy.
Me too.
Right? But when you're in a restaurant, if you order over easy, it's going to be closer to sunny side up or raw.
So, not cooked. They just I won't say that because I always get over easy, and most of the time it's decent.
All right,
it's a little runny, but not.
You've had better
terrible
luck than I have. I order it over medium, because then I am pretty guaranteed to not have it too undercooked. I don't want to order it over hard, because then I might get it over hard, which I don't like.
You might as well get scrambled.
Right, yeah. So I ordered it over medium. This was less than over easy when I got it, right? I mean, some of the white, you really want the white cooked.
Yeah. Right,
and some of the whites, so anyway, I'm going to continue to order over medium for those egg lovers out there, in hopes of getting something close to over easy.
Well, you could just get scrambled, and then
I could, and I have no trouble with scrambled, but I like a fried egg. So
I
kill
like
me.
Mine over easy too. But I know what you're saying. I've had a couple times where it's been this needed just a little bit longer on there.
So Tim paid for the meal. Thank you, Tim. I really appreciate that.
Very nice.
So after that, I played the rest of the day. That night, though, we had cocktails at Caesars. I don't remember too much of that because I'd had some cocktails before I even arrived. So apologies to anything I might have said to anybody.
Well, I got a text on my phone here in Minnesota that said, let me pull that up real quick here and see exactly what was said. The first text I got, June 24th at 9:15 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Drunk Mark is hilarious.
Okay.
And my return reply was, yes, until bedtime.
Well, until bedtime, what do you mean? Because I fall asleep at bedtime. Why?
Well, not right away. It goes on and on.
Oh, I see. No, I'm still hilarious. It might be annoying. Those times when we've shared a room, sure, you might be pulling your hair out, but I'm still hilarious.
Yeah, it's true. It's still hilarious. And then I got back a laughing face.
All right. Well, good. At least am I mean? No. Am I loud? Yeah.
Yeah. That was from our friend Todd.
Okay, yeah. I saw Todd several times we were out there.
Yeah.
Well, after the meet up there, I sort of stumbled back to Harrah's. I played a little bit more crapless and just didn't go well. And then went to bed. And as I'm going to bed, I'm thinking, this is so stupid. I am going to go on the hike tomorrow morning. I had checked with Tony the night before to say, hey, is there still room for the hike that they're doing on Tuesday morning? And he said, yeah, let me check with Christina. And Christina's the one who was running it. And yeah, they got me in. So here I'm going to bed, full of booze and everything. And I'm thinking, this is so stupid. I got to wake up early. I wake up early. I'm hungover a little bit. It's not too bad. But I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to hydrate, right? I'm going to go out into this 105-degree sun hiking, and so I did okay. I did fine.
You're one of those news stories, that you see where guy dies on hiking trail,
right?
Wandered off the trail.
Had no water with him, right?
No water with him.
Toxicology showed, he was too drunk to even drive.
He was at a 2.0 blood alcohol.
So no, I was fine. Actually, I had a lot of water in the morning and met up and we drove out there. So yeah, we hiked at the Valley of Fire, which is about an hour outside of Las Vegas.
Is that by Red Rocks or?
No, I think it's actually the opposite direction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
all right.
And Christina took us on a relatively short trail, Rainbow Vista Trail, less than 2 miles out and back. It was just an out and back.
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, it was hot, but we all had water. We all had sunscreen. There were about a half a dozen of us, I guess, maybe a little bit more who went out there. Yeah, I think it was 8 total, including Christina. And, just a great desert views, these rainbow rocks with the different layers and everything.
Or anything?
No, not really any trees.
Or anything.
I mean, there was shade because of these great big rock formations. So there were times where you were going through, a little valley between the rocks, and you'd get some shade. It's so funny because, we were kind of resting as we were on the hike and we were able to get into some shade. And one of us said something like, God, the shade, it's so much cooler. It's a silly thing to say. Of course, it's cooler in the shade. But you have no idea when you're out there, that heat, the sun.
Yeah, you notice it.
You get into that shade, it's like you're in air conditioning all of a sudden. So it really makes a difference. But
let me ask you this before you go on.
Yeah.
Anywhere along that path, was there a place to get like a grilled cheese or something?
I didn't see any. I think if you brought your own material, the bread, the cheese, etc., you could have probably left it on a rock, come back,
made a grilled cheese
on the hike and made a grilled cheese. But no, I didn't see any stands for it. Why is that? Why are you asking?
Well, because if I was going to train for Naked and Afraid, my theory is just I train somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I usually just pop into somebody's house and get a grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Hungry, so
say, sorry, I'm naked
about food.
and afraid, but I'm just really hankering for a grilled cheese.
Could you make me a grilled cheese?
Yeah, Mike, if this is where you're going to train, first of all, I'd say this is not a good place because you're going to get sunburn.
Yeah.
Secondly,
you don't ever want burned.
Yeah, you're not going to find any houses, let alone grilled cheeses. All
right. Well, I'm still searching for the best place.
Find the best place. Yeah. Again, thanks, Christina, for setting that up for us. So we hustled on back because at noon, we were going to be a little late because we all kind of wanted to shower. We were, pretty sweaty. Tony Snyder was putting together a cocktail meetup, which he does every year, where he walks people through making the cocktails. So it's sort of an interactive experience, and we get to try some things that maybe we wouldn't try anywhere. So I was a little late to that, but got back to that. Tony does a great job where we can do some hands-on things to make these cocktails. And, just a great time to meet everybody. And it was funny. And we're having laughs. And Tony, as you know, certainly knows his adult beverages. So he put
Tony
together
is an expert on that.
Put together some tasty things for us to drink.
I've thought of this before. And now you saying this, Tony should really have some show on TV.
Yeah, he would be good. Well,
Wouldn't he be great? Something like where, hey, we make cocktails and go over stuff like a cooking show, but alcohol themed.
Well, shoot, Vice Lounge Online that he used to do, with his pal Jason Gillikin. A lot of people missed that podcast.
Yeah.
Right? It was every episode was 3 things. It was gambling, it was cigars, and then it was cocktails.
And that was a cocktail.
And he does do some for the 360 Vegas podcast, Patreon members. There are some cocktail episodes that he has put on, but I agree. He's
he'd be
very gregarious. He's
now if you
good
end
public
up on
speaker.
TV, Tony, I want a cut of that. But I think
it's your idea. Yeah,
I think he should be on a show. That's something people would watch on TV. Cocktails with Tony.
Yeah. Now it's funny because I kind of felt bad. Karen came up to me after the first cocktail and said, "Well, what do you think, Mark?" And I said, "Well, I don't like cocktails." And she said, "Well, then why did you come to this event?" I said, "Well, Tony invited me and I wanted to, schmooze with everybody." The second cocktail that he made was quite tasty. It was kind of fruity. I like, fruity drinks, and Josh at Crap Vegas, he likes lemon drops. Yeah, I like sweet things like that thing.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have even said anything. Karen, I'm sorry. I should have just said, "Oh yeah, this is really tasty. It's a good summer drink." Instead, I want everybody to know, well, I don't like cocktails. You guys are crazy.
That Mark sure is honest to a fault.
Yeah. Hope he doesn't come next year.
Yeah, right.
But the event itself is fantastic. The cocktail event that Tony puts on. So,
well, you didn't have to have a cocktail, though, right?
Well, I didn't have to, but I wanted to participate. I drank them. Hey, I drank them down.
Yeah. Oh, I know you wouldn't pass them up.
Oh, no, of course not.
But you could have just said, hey, give me half a bottle of Fireball and I'm fine.
And then after that, there was some group gaming downstairs. Not many people really came downstairs, though. So, I mean, that was ultimately the end of 360 Vegas Vacation. So, people who love Vegas and love getting together with people who like cocktails and like gambling, it's hard to beat. So I definitely recommend it. Check out 360 Vegas podcast. They always talk about in the upcoming events.
Yeah, and they're very nice. If you haven't gone, it's a good group of people.
Great group of people. Now, how did the gambling go? Pretty poorly for me. I kept texting you, Mike. It kind of started out and just...
Well, you had one day you did quite well.
One day I did good, but, just not good. So that's how I ended up. I want to say this, Mike. I don't know if I mentioned this to you. Every Caesars property that I went to, except for Planet Hollywood, and we'll talk about that in a second, it seemed like they were training new dealers.
Yeah.
Like not fresh off the street dealers. Most of them, it seemed like, were in-house. Like maybe they dealt other games. Right. So they knew a way around chips, but they were learning craps.
It's always that way, right?
I don't know. It made for some sessions that were less than enjoyable. Not because they were bad necessarily. I mean, they were learning, but it slowed the game down so much.
It's the pace. It's the pace.
That kind of got to me. So,
and then when somebody makes something odd or does something out of the ordinary, then they have to stop and figure stuff out.
Oh, Mike,
it slows it way down.
One of the last sessions, it was taking forever to figure out the payment on a horn bet. What made it worse, too, Mike, Harrah's, they have the lower payouts on those prop bets.
Oh, right.
Right? It's 34-1 instead of 32-1.
Yeah, it's not quite as simple.
So the player was getting confused too. So it was just taking forever. And, once they got it figured out, I colored up. And one of the dealers who was a regular there kind of looked at me like, oh, yeah, I'm so sorry for this, because they could tell that it was I just wasn't enjoying myself, right? And, they knew I knew how to play. Anyway.
I guess you weren't drinking then, because the drunk Mark would have made some comment like, my center bets are all done.
Yeah, I always say that. Yeah, Jerry, no bets for me, thanks. After
no bets.
I'm good, thank you. No, and I was tired. It was towards the end. It's like, okay, I'm not going to win any money here. It's taking too long. But again, every Caesars property, that was the case, except for Planet Hollywood. Once again, Dr. Mike, I even texted you, man, the crew's there. I love them so much. They're so good. The vibe there was great.
They're fast, efficient.
As far as Caesars properties go, for sure, my favorite place in Vegas to play, still Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, same here. I only have one complaint.
What's that?
They do, like after 9 o'clock, they do turn the music up.
It gets louder maybe even than Circa or the D.
I asked one of the dealers, they turn it up. It's on before then, but at 9, they just crank it up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to hear the dealers and stuff. And I understand, it's more for a younger crowd. And that, for me, is not a big deterrent. I mean, I still want to play there.
It's not a big deterrent for me either, because I kind of like the loud music. Yeah, and, I'm never in a situation where the dealer and I don't understand each other. Right? We both know the game, so... But
most of the time, they know what I'm going to do anyway. Yeah. I don't have to say anything.
But I have seen them get in discussions with players that maybe new players where it really is hard to understand. And I understand that. But, great crew as always. All right. Unfortunately, though, I've got to tell you about this story that did happen at Planet Hollywood. It didn't really involve me, but it's interesting, and I texted you about it, so let me just set it up for you here. So there was a player who came to the table. It was fairly early when I got there. Guy was on a hot roll. Comes up to the table while this guy's rolling, while he has a point, buys in with cash and lays against the point. So two etiquette faux pas here, right? Buying in the middle of a hand. And then to make things worse, betting against the shooter, right? Mm-hmm. So again, this is all etiquette. I mean, you're certainly allowed to do it, but it doesn't come across very well. The guy ended up rolling his point and then saying something to this don't player, sort of the effect that, sorry, buddy, but you had this coming. You deserve this. It's really, out of line to buy in the middle of the... And so they kind of exchanged words. And the shooter ended up kind of apologizing to the guy. Good for him, because he had a point, right? Saying this. But again, you can play however you want. It's etiquette, whatever. But, already, sort of now there's a dark cloud over the table. The mood's a little bit different. The don't player, left and would come back every once in a while, eventually came and stood right next to me. Now, he and I started talking to each other. And, if I hadn't seen what he'd done before, I probably would have thought, oh, this is a pretty good guy, because we were having kind of a friendly conversation talking about the game. But he's obviously got a person. I mean, he must know what he's doing. He knew exactly how much to put out there and how much to give him for the VIG. He's doing it on purpose. So,
right.
I'm kind of conflicted. Well, I don't care, right? He play however you want. But with talking to him, it's like, oh, he's not a bad guy. All right, so here's what happened, Mike. I'm not going to get into the math of this. But at one point, he made a $105 don't pass bet.
Okay, yeah.
It came time for him to lay odds. And he laid the max odds that he could. Keep in mind, like most strip properties, the odds are 3, 4, 5. So when it comes to how much you can bet on the don't, it's always 6 times your wager, regardless of what the point is.
Right.
Kind of makes it easy for the don't. Yeah. How much you can bet.
Yeah. When you texted me, I immediately said,
yeah, I texted,
got 105.
I texted you, not telling you any part of the story. I just said, Mike, if somebody makes $105 don't pass bet and the point is 6, and it's the 3, 4, 5 times table, how much can he lay in odds? And you said $630. Okay. Again, we're not going to go into the math of it, but the box said, no, you can only lay 605. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to jump to this guy's defense because this is not a matter of opinion. This is just numbers.
It's just math.
Yeah. And said, no, it's 630. And we're trying to explain to the box, here, look, pretend it's 2 separate bets. You could do 600 here and 30 here. And he wouldn't have any. Finally, he said, no, I'm not having this discussion with you. And it's like, well, we're not going to argue with the box. He's in charge. We're holding up the game. The other players at the table, they may not know. They may think we're wrong because, the boxman, he obviously knows what he's talking about. And we just let it go. Later, when a new dealer came to the table, none of the dealers spoke up. They didn't want to get involved either. I don't blame them. When a new dealer came to the table, the don't player kind of quietly asked her, if I had 105 on the don't, he kind of nudges me, how much can I take in odds? And she thought for a second, 630. And when I texted you, again, you said 630. The only reason I brought up the story is here was a box who was wrong about numbers, about math. And it was frustrating. And looking back on it, I should have kept my mouth shut. But, when I see something that's clearly wrong, where I can show you numbers.
Well, this isn't a matter of opinion.
No, this isn't like, he had $25 out there. I remember he put it out there.
No.
That's something else. This is not a matter of opinion. This is just numbers, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised the boxman after a while didn't think, okay, yeah. Because like you said, if you divided it into 2, if he had a $5 bet.
That extra $5 is what was throwing him off. And he just shut down. And I can understand that he wants to keep the game going.
Maybe he realized he was wrong and didn't want to.
No, I don't think so. No. And, if you'd had time to take him aside and, another employee say to him, okay, whatever. But, I just wanted to bring it up because, this kind of stuff does still happen. Now, whether this is true or not, the don't player said to me that this guy used to be a dealer and would make mistakes every once in a while. I don't know if that's true. I'll just add that to the part of the story. But the don't player, why is he betting $105?
Right. Well, and so here's the thing, Mark.
So why should I defend a guy who's making some weird bet like this?
Exactly. Here's the thing. Why 105? Why not just 100?
I don't know. Maybe,
or even 150.
Mike, maybe
125.
Maybe he's angle shooting, thinking that they'll pay him off wrong when he's got a weird thing, because he knows the numbers, right? I have no idea. I would never accuse him of that. I don't know if that's going on. But yeah, it is a weird amount.
It's just an odd thing. Now, I've got a story to match you.
All right, go.
So I went out to Diamond Joe, and it was almost the same kind of scenario. Somebody was rolling, and they were having a pretty decent roll. And then this guy walks up, who's a regular there, right in the middle of the roll, throws his cash down there to buy in. And he puts in like $8,000 or something. And
in cash?
In cash.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because they don't take, Iowa has a law, they don't have markers.
No markers at all in Iowa?
That's the state of Iowa. There's a law, they have no markers.
Okay.
So you cannot get a marker at the casino. You have to bring money.
All right.
It's terrible, I think, because it causes people like him to carry around large sums of money. Yeah. I've seen people out there with, $50,000, $100,000 in cash in their pocket.
Yeah.
Anyway, he throws down his money. That's kind of stops the game while they give him the chips. So, immediately he puts a don't come bet down for $500 and it goes up to some number and he lays full odds. And then after he goes through all that, then the guy sevens out and, he collects his money and everyone's kind of looking at him like, come on. And I was kind of looking at him too, like, really, you had to make that bet. You couldn't just wait till it come out or till he made his point or something.
Okay, sure.
Because it kind of really slowed the thing down. The guy was having a pretty decent roll. Nobody said anything. A couple of the dealers kind of rolled their eyes like, oh, God, why does he have to do this? So on the next roll, on the come out, he would put $500, which is the max, on the don't pass line. And then as far as odds go, what he was laying in odds, he would start off with like a couple thousand and then just keep adding money to it.
Yeah.
In weird amounts, though.
Yeah,
Mark.
yeah.
Like, not like, oh, I'm going to put another 500 or something. It would be like, 300. And then the next roll, maybe he put 1,000 more on there.
Just whatever number of chips he had in his hand or something.
Yeah, he was holding chips in his hand. It just seemed like it was willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And he looked at me at one point, and the reason I'm telling this story is kind of like you said, when he started talking to me, he seemed like a pretty nice guy. And he even said to me, he said, I know it's strange, but this is the way I like to play.
Well, there you go.
And I said to him, I don't care. I'm just curious about your betting strategy and stuff. Anyway, we talked a little. He seemed like a decent enough person. And he was nice to the dealers. He didn't tip them till the end, but then he gave them some money. He even apologized to him at one point. He said, I should be tipping you more, but I'm not doing so well tonight.
Yeah.
The thing that bothered me, though, is what he had in odds back there, he wasn't keeping track of.
Right.
So finally, somebody with 7, it was $100 chips he was putting back there too. He wasn't using 500s. He was putting hundreds. So there's this big, huge stack. And, like if you have a $500 don't bet on a 4, he can put 10,000 behind there to win 5,000.
Right.
But sometimes it'd be like, oh, you got $4,200 here, or, whatever it was. 4 and 10's not too hard, but 5 and 9.
Yeah, well,
and
even 6
there were
and 8,
times, when he was, the payout's $1,268, or some weird. They had to keep figuring it out. That's what kind of bugged me because it kind of slowed the.
Yeah.
Of course, it was on the 7 out.
Yeah,
but it's kind of slowed the game down a little because he had some weird amounts back there. And then at one time, I guess he had more than he could have.
Right.
And no one was keeping track of it. So when they got to the point where they were going to pay it, and the dealer said, well, you have too much. You laid too much. So they paid him on the max, and then they just pushed the extra money back to him.
Yeah, they did that when we were there. Yeah, that's their policy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he was totally mad. He said, but what if the point had come up? You would have just taken that.
No, not based on our experience. They count it.
No, and he's there all the time. He's seen them. They count mine all the time.
Yeah.
Even when it's not that much, they'll count it and make sure you weren't over, because if you're over, they give it back to you.
Yeah, even on a loser. Yep.
And they explained it to him. They said, no, if you had lost, if the point had come up, we would have given back. But he was upset about that, and it caused a big stink. And it was weird because he kind of was a nice guy, but then at points he was kind of a jerk. It's like, anyway, your story reminded me of him because there were so many weird things.
Well, that's the way he likes to play. Right?
Yeah, he did say, and he actually said that.
Yeah,
he said, this is the way I like to play. And I said, hey, I got no problem with it. It just fascinates me. And he kind of smiled and, went on.
Just a couple more stories from my trip. I went to the Link, played there just a little bit. It was funny because a guy across the table, speaking of don't players, he rolled from the don't and just had these monster rolls. And again, play however you want to play, but if I'm betting the don't, and there are other people at the table who are not betting the don't, I'm not rolling, or I'm switching to the pass line, because it does seem worse. Because if you have a bad roll, you immediate 7 out, at least it's done. When you're on the don't and you're having a bad roll for yourself, meaning you're having a good roll for everything, it just keeps going. I mean, you can pass the dice,
point. But it's like, I lost, but I still got to roll. Made the point.
He had so much. I do want to talk about something at the Link. They had it on one of their tables. I've seen this online. Some of our listeners have pointed out too. They've got this side bet that you bet, everybody makes a bet, and if the come out roll is an 11, They spin this wheel. And depending on where the wheel lands, you win a certain amount of money. Only certain spaces, in other words, certain people who bet on it win. It was confusing. Nobody was betting it when I was there. It was only on one of their tables. It wasn't on every table. That's all I'm going to say about it because, since nobody was playing when I was there, I didn't really witness it. They explained it to me, but it was confusing enough that I can't see this taking off. So just if you've seen this wheel.
Sounds like one of those things where somebody was trying way too hard to come up with a side.
Yeah, maybe. Plus, since it's not a physical wheel, it's an electronic wheel. So who knows what the odds are? You can't figure it out unless you talk to the people at the company. So I just wanted to mention that in case anybody else has seen it. No clue what the house edge might be on it.
Weird.
Well, Dr. Mike, we got an email from listener Pat G. He was talking about how his wife had won a bunch of free play when she was in a slot tournament and played through it and then started getting all these offers. And he was wondering how free play might affect your average daily theoretical. Again, that ADT is what a lot of casinos use to determine what kind of offers you're going to get. Average daily theoretical loss based on the game you're playing, how much you're wagering, what your theoretical loss would be on a day, and then they base the offers on that. So I thought this was a really good question to talk about on the show. I think he and his wife were playing at Ocean and Atlantic City, and I don't know what their policies are, but in most cases, the casino won't count your free play as money that you've risked. So it won't count towards your average daily theoretical. However, it might adversely affect it because while you're playing it, that counts as a trip to the casino.
Right.
So if you're not risking any additional money of your own, that might show up as a trip where you risked $0 and they'll average that in.
Yeah.
So,
it's like you came to the casino, you were here for X hours, but you didn't play or something.
Right.
So that's like a negative on your ledger as far as like how much we're going to give you. Well, why give this guy a lot of free play or something if they're not going to play?
So if you're going to play your free play and you're able to, do it on a day when you're also going to play with your own money so that it doesn't show up as a 0 day.
Well, we had that problem at Harrah's Rincon.
Yeah, we did, and it probably hurt us, but we were kind of burning that off. Just try to avoid only making a trip to play your free play because that could adversely affect you. And again, casinos are going to differ, but I think that's good advice.
We always joked about like, oh, we should buy a house by the casino, there, like residential areas down the street. Yeah. And that would be our doom, right? We wouldn't get any free play because we'd go to get our free play and not stay because it's close by.
Right.
Right. And then eventually they just wouldn't give us any free play. So, yeah, that's the problem with just picking up your free play.
Yeah. We also got an email from listener James. He asked if we were roulette players, how would we tip the dealers? Yeah, you and I don't play roulette very often. How would you tip if you were playing roulette more often, Mike?
Oh, that is a very good question, but I would probably just put $1 on top of my bet.
Yeah, right.
Wherever it is. Let's say I'm betting on 12 and I've got $10 on 12 or something. I'd probably just put $1 for them.
Yeah.
And you could just say that's for you.
Yeah, just say,
You don't even have to say anything. You can just, if it hits, you just take the $30 they would want and give it to them or whatever.
Yeah.
The other way is obviously just to keep playing, and at the end, if you're up, give them a % of what you're up.
Sure. Yeah, and I would probably do that. I probably would bet as I was playing too, but I would probably not make bets for them. I'd just toss them, $5 or something after I had a win. That's kind of what I do on carnival games too. Now, with blackjack, I'll just put $1 out there in front of my bet. But for some carnival games, especially when there are multiple bets that can be made on a single hand,
right?
And I was doing this in Las Vegas. If I had a win, it's like, oh, here you go. I'd toss them a nickel.
They can't drop those tips.
Right, they have to convert them. I mean, they can keep track, but they can't drop those roulette chips directly into the trip. Yes.
Right.
If they could, it's like, oh yeah, this guy, he made all these pink chips. Each one's for $500. So that's what that pink one in the drop box is.
The pink ones are $500.
Yeah, just FYI, when you're converting back in the back.
probably what they should do, I think, as far as tipping at roulette, is just wait till the end.
I understand that.
Or when the dealer changes.
The thing is, though, I kind of want to start tipping right away so the dealer knows I'm a tipper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep,
so that I get off to a good start with them. So that's the downside of only tipping at the end, unless you're a regular or something. So
that is an odd game to tip at, though.
It is only because you're not using regular casino chips. Now, you can always have, it's not like you have to only play with those goofy chips at the table, right? You can also have some reds and greens and whatever too, that are maybe bigger than the denomination you're playing with, just for single bets here, right, or there, or for tipping the dealer.
Yeah, I guess you could just say you make all your bets and then you have some regular dollar chips.
Yeah, and put them offset and you say, hey, this is yours. Yeah.
Yeah, or you just say, hey, this is a tip. Where do you want it?
Yes, that's a great way to do it.
They might say, put it on red or
something like that. So they're closer to getting a win.
Yeah, to a win
than a single number.
Or they might say, hey, I'm going to go with you on the 12, and blah, 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 whatever. So I think that'd be the best way. Just ask them, where do you want this?
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Well, Dr. Mike, we've got a couple of phone calls here in the hopper, but I think I'm going to save them for next time because, we've had a decent length show here talking about all this stuff.
So. We had a lot to talk about with your trip.
Yeah, and then, next time, maybe we won't have anything to talk about, and then we'll rely on our listeners, which is our crutch for the show. So, very good.
That's what keeps us in business.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some recurring donations. From the boys over at Crap Vegas, from James, from Jeremy at the Color Up YouTube channel, and from Kurt. Thank you very much for those recurring donations. We also got a donation from our buddy Todd Goddess, Karma donation for 360 Vegas vacation. Hope you had a good time there, Todd. I don't remember hearing anybody saying they had great gambling while we were out there.
Yeah, so I haven't heard anything from Todd about gambling. Yeah. He did send me an email about video craps that they have up by the cities in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was telling me about that, too. Oh, hey, I sent you that picture, Mike. They now have crapless bubble craps. The individual crab machines. I showed you that. The picture I texted you, it actually said crapless craps. Some of the other ones, it says easy craps.
Easy craps.
And you don't realize it till you sit down that it's crapless. And who knows, crapless might have, a copyright or trademark on it. Anyway, so. We also got a donation from John B., headed to 360 Vegas Vacation. Here's a Karma donation. Well, again, thank you, John, for all the advice that you gave us on Ultimate Texas Hold'em. Hope you had a profitable trip. We also got a donation from Pat G., whose question we answered earlier about ADT and free play. Karma donation for AC trip in the car now. Well, hopefully you had a good trip, Pat.
I hope he won.
And finally, a donation from listener Scott. You may remember I designated my last donation a reverse karma after the first one led to kidney stones. Well, reverse karma led to a small win for me and $30,000 for my buddy. So here's another for our trip next week to the Venetian. Enjoy the show. Oh, well, hopefully you and your buddy have good luck again, Scott.
Scott, it's your turn to win $30,000.
Oh, yeah. Scott, it's your turn. And thanks also for sending me that spreadsheet. Scott sent me a spreadsheet of all the hand pays and everything that they had when they were out there. So hopefully they'll have good luck again.
Yeah, more hand pays.
Hey, at the top of our webpage, you'll find a link to our store where you can buy You Can Bet on That merchandise. Also, you can find a list of all the gambling-related shows coming up on American television at youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. And we've also got a list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonThat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Dr. Mike, what do you got for us?
Well, Mark, first off, what did you say the IRS was thinking about raising the W2G to?
Yeah, they were suggesting raising it to $5,800.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I ask is they were talking about that when I was out at Diamond Joe.
Oh.
One of the hosts was telling one of the players who was playing craps, but I guess plays slots a lot too, how there was talk about them raising it up and how nice that would be for him. He wouldn't have to get all these W2Gs and stuff like that. And I was thinking, it's still too low.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They should make it $10,000 because they're not going to revisit this for another 50 years.
Right, right. And, a lot of the slot machines, like the grand prize is 19,000 or 21,000.
Yeah.
Just make it like 10,000.
Yeah. I agree.
I just think 5,800 is too low. I mean,
all that 5,800 does is get it in line with the 1,200 was when they originally did it back in the 70s, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I hope that really does go through.
Me too.
I'm really looking forward to that. Not that I play a lot of slots. It's just
but still, oh my gosh.
It's way off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I have, did you happen to watch the Padre game last night on July 5th?
Yes, I certainly did, Dr. Mike.
Yes, that was quite a game, wasn't
Fantastic. It is so fun to watch them play currently.
Yeah. Yes, currently.
And last night, now, see, the thing is, they took a big lead into the ninth and blew it. So, it's like,
but
great,
then they
here
had
we go.
the thing to come. They actually went behind. It wasn't like
that's what I mean.
Tie.
Yeah, that not only they blow the lead, they were behind going to the bottom of the ninth. No, I watched it. I stuck with it, and it's like
I did too. I went to bed so happy,
Yeah.
and I was even more happy when I got in bed and I was sitting there like I'm not supposed to do, looking at my phone, and I saw on Twitter, or X as it's called now, somebody had put a note on the You Can Bet on That thing about, Padres blow big lead, and, some kind of comment about that. But I didn't see any follow-up where they said, yeah, but they won the game.
Well, hopefully they were just commiserating with us. They weren't teasing us. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't tease us about the Padres. We're just going to agree with you, right?
Right, I know that. Well, as I'm reading and I'm thinking, well, if that was meant to be like a tease, it doesn't really affect us because we know that happens all the time.
Yeah, no.
And if it's meant to be just a comment, then they should have followed it up with, yeah, but they won. Anyway, they're playing well now, and it's fun. And they actually, Tatis hasn't been playing. They have,
I know, yeah.
Bogarts hasn't been playing.
Yeah.
They have some of their stars out, but all the other guys are coming through. I don't know. Yeah. This might be the year, Mark.
Oh, yeah, it might be. It sounds like the clubhouse is a positive place to be right now. Yes. And that's important. So that's good.
Yeah, like everyone's friendly with each other and they're having fun.
Yeah.
And that really is important, I think.
Yeah. No question.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't care what anyone says. I saw a ranking thing about playoffs. What's the funnest professional sport playoff? And baseball was at the bottom.
Oh, that's too bad.
Because, there's a lot of games in the playoffs and the World Series and stuff. And maybe football's funner. I don't know. Hockey was the one that won, though.
Yeah, I
had the most votes. Is the funnest.
I kind of understand that, even though it's not the biggest sport in the country. I can kind of understand that.
Yeah, playoff hockey is fun to watch.
Yeah.
These playoffs were great.
Yeah, it was good. Just relax, Mike. And I think that's what you're saying. Is just enjoy the ride. Just, is it the Padres' year? Oh, of course it is.
Even if it isn't, it gives me something to do every night.
Yeah, it gives you something
and I kind of enjoy
every night.
The fact that it comes on late here.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so you're falling asleep as it's going on, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, getting ready for bed and the game's in the second or third inning, and then I have a good excuse to wake up every half hour and check the score.
Good.
And then Lynn will ask me in the morning, how many innings did you sleep? Last night, I think I missed the 5th and 6th inning. I fell asleep. But I saw the end. So.
Good. Well, that's what counts. That was a good one. All right. We'll talk to you again in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Good night.
Come on, my card only has a 1 in 52 chance of getting picked anyway.
How did you know that? You're like Rain Man. Quick, how many toothpicks are on the ground?
0.
You need to go to Vegas.